And here today we're also having a little prove me wrong if people get a little bit bored and want to have some difficult conversations. Our statement, pop up, prove me wrong. We just popped up and there we were. So our statement is, as well as making sure that Three Waters is stopped, we want Marsden Point Refinery reinstated so our fuel prices go down. Because if you don't have supply up, then demand goes up and prices go up. We've never seen prices of fuel like this before, $3.05 a litre for diesel. And our diesel prices is not far off our petrol prices, and we still have to pay road user charges. All right, so if you guys are in the Whangarei region, come down and attempt to prove me wrong. Preferably not in your Tesla. Hey guys, you guys against Three Waters? Yep. Yeah, me too. Yep. Theft of water infrastructure is not good. How do you feel about the theft of your fuel infrastructure?
I don't feel it's a good idea at all. It costs everyone, you know. It costs us extra money for living and petrol prices and putting a strain on people's lives, especially if you're working.
Yeah.
You know, you got to travel,
yeah,
which most of us do.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't see it getting any better for people like us. You know, it's just been increasing, and the struggle and everything's just getting too real, and it's just like, you know,
undue stress.
Yeah, and they ask us to support it and be happy with it. It's like, hell, you know, how do you do that? You know, and you know, we've all got to live as well. You know, and I'm not a big fan of it at all. No. So I hope it's a good turnout today, and and you guys definitely have my vote.
Well, you don't have to vote for us. All we're trying to do is we're trying to get people to empower themselves to do something about it.
Oh, true.
Over there on the table over there, when you got some time, we've got a representative action petition.
Choice.
That petition there, if we get 30,000 signatures, we can take Channel Infrastructure to court. That's at least one of the entities that is getting rid of our infrastructure. That's the refinery out in Marsden Point.
Oh,
and then
yes.
we can investigate whether they've been engaging in financial mismanagement, which has undermined the refinery.
True.
Yeah, so we can,
yes.
Yeah, so we can get information out there.
Cool. Yeah, man. Yeah.
So when you find some time, just head over to the table, and we've also got some t-shirts there as well.
Oh, cool.
Sweet.
Yeah, sure.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. What was your name?
Corey.
Yeah. Yep.
Carla.
What's your name, mate?
Hazen.
How you going? Good to meet you guys. How you going? You're against Three Waters, aren't you?
Yes, of course I am.
Yep.
I'm against a lot of the stuff that the government are doing behind our backs.
Yeah.
You know, signing crap at 4 a.m. and all that sort of rubbish, you know, and now accepting a bribe or two for here, because they're all related.
Yeah.
It's all, you know.
Sort of turning into a criminal organisation, isn't it?
So how can people not see this? How can people not see everything that's going on when all it's been is one agenda? It's a whole package thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's Three Waters, everything that's going on that they're trying to push on us, the jab, everything. This Marsden Point, letting that go, it's all making us reliant on them in the end, the government entity. So we've got to actually stand up now and say no. Everybody needs to do this now, because we're not going to get another chance. Once it's gone, it's gone.
Yeah.
So, no, we've got to do this for New Zealanders.
It's about time we started taking our power back and being the state that the people are meant to be.
That's exactly right.
And this thing isn't representative of
and they're creating such massive division in the whole country.
Yeah.
And it's over the things that we would never, ever be even having an issue with before. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Racial issues, all sorts of issues. It's all packaged together. Got to look into this. People need to open their bloody eyes. I'm over it. Yeah.
That's why we're doing what we're doing. We're just going to have conversations with everyone, get the conversation started again. We're missing the conversation, aren't we?
I mean, Ralphie says, don't you, Ralph? You say, stop Three Waters, don't you, mate? Eh? Stand up for New Zealanders. We've got to stand up for our country, and this is all part of it.
And stop undermining our refining infrastructure so we can afford fuel.
Exactly.
Mummy can't take you to the park as often.
Oh, nah, mate. We won't even be able to go to work at this rate.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard enough to go to work, to spend the fuel to go to work. Isn't that horrendous that we got to this point? You know, it's just stupid. Anyway.
That's all right. There was a ex-KGB agent who said that a lot of people, because of the comfort crisis, weren't going to realise until their doors were being kicked out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And there's a lot of people that won't realise until it literally hits them in the face, until it actually affects them personally. They're carrying on with their life like nothing's wrong, got their head buried in the sand because it's not affecting them personally, because they're complying. Because they're complying, that's what they're doing.
There's one maxim in law, consent makes the law.
That's exactly right. Yeah. Yes, it forms the law, exactly. So because they comply, they don't see anything wrong until it's finally going to get to the point where they're going to have something that affects them personally. Affects them personally, hits them in the face, and then they're going to go, what happened there? And we're going to all go, well, we've been trying to tell you, you know? Stand up for your rights. Yep. Wake up. Just wake up. Please, people, wake up.
Well, we're going to do our best to try and get the conversation out there. When you find some time, we've got a representative action petition. That's for the refinery.
Okay, I'm there.
And they're signing signatures up there for the Three Waters.
Yep, awesome.
Kill two birds with one stone, eh?
I'll do it all the time. I'll do whatever I can. Yeah. No.
It was wonderful to meet you.
Yes.
No, see you again.
Yes.
You're definitely against the Three Waters. This must be why you're here.
Definitely, yeah.
Yep. How do you feel about it?
Oh, it's just so wrong that the government should take a local asset away from the people. New Zealanders, Whangarei people, we've all paid for this stuff over the years, and they just want to take it away and give it.
It is tantamount to theft, isn't it?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yep. How do you feel about what's happened with the Marsden oil refinery as well?
Oh, that's another criminal act that they've done. There's lots and lots of different symptoms of the same poison, the Marxist poison that's going through this country.
Everything's connected.
Everything's connected. They're all connected.
Yeah. What was your name, sir?
Morris.
Morris? Nice to meet you, Morris. I'm Brad.
We have been blown away by the support of New Zealanders. The support of New Zealanders who believe in the value of democracy, who believe that ratepayers who have invested millions and millions, if not billions, into local water infrastructure deserve a say in the way that these services are managed and delivered. Now, your water assets here in Whangarei, which you have invested in over generations, it is currently managed by your local council. And we know that not every local council in New Zealand does a great job on infrastructure, whether it's water or roading or anything else. But they're the devil you know, or perhaps more importantly in this case, your council is the devil you can at least vote out. Yeah. And some would say that's the best definition we have of democracy, that at least you can vote the bastards out. However, if you've got a problem with your water services, if you're not happy with the value of money that you're receiving, you can contact your local councillor directly. Under the new system, however, there will be 4 layers of bureaucracy separating you from the people making decisions on these new massive water monopolies. So, in Whangarei, you will be joining up with the far north, with Kaipara, and with Auckland into what they call Entity A. 1.5 million Aucklanders will be drowning out your local voice on this entity. You will have 1 councillor on the regional representation group. That's 1 councillor out of 14 members. That is your local voice under this regime. Half of those members are appointed by iwi, so they are not elected by anyone. And even this representation group, its job is to appoint the selection panel that appoints the board members of the new entity. 4 layers of bureaucracy, and under what universe, in what universe, does an unaccountable water monopoly deliver better value to ratepayers than an accountable one? Last week or the week before, the Labour Party, they used their majority in Parliament to pass the first reading of the Water Services Entities Bill. Now, this is the euphemistically named piece of legislation that transfers the ownership of the water services to the new entities. But all is not lost. In fact, far from it. We are very optimistic that we can stop Three Waters, because the bill is now before a select committee. This is a group of members of Parliament who are required to hear from you, the public.
Good morning, can you hear me?
Yes, I can, Paul. My name is Deborah Russell. I'm the chair of the Finance and Expenditure Committee. We've got 5 minutes with you to hear your submission, so please go ahead.
Thanks very much, Deborah. I've made an online submission as well, which has some information. But my name's Paul McNeil. I'm a licensed firearms dealer. I'm also a sporting shooter, called A, B, C, D, E, F, endorsed. And along with my wife, Audrey, we operate the Iraqi Ammunition Company. In December 2019, we received a police mail order form from the Dunedin Arms Officer authorising us to transfer 2,320 rounds of ammunition to Brenton Tarrant. At the time, Brenton Tarrant was issued with a 10-year licence. Its expiry date was September 2027, indicating he had been issued a licence in September of 2017, which from my information was only a matter of 5 or 6 weeks after he arrived in the country. This time he has no family, no partner, no job, no footprint in the community, yet he was fitted, as being fit and proper, and obviously given a full licence, which proper, and obviously given a full licence, which allowed him to arm himself. Now, at the time, on the mail order form, which is here, which I've submitted, he admits that he was in possession of the Rinko SKS semi-automatic rifle, as well as a Whangarei AR-15. So, the police were aware of these firearms.
Can we just call you
I'm not sure this is going out publicly. I'm not sure we should be hearing this. This is my submission.
No, hang on just a moment, Mr. McNeil.
Hold on, this will be evidence.
We'll get back to you, don't worry. Yeah.
I think, Madam Chair, we need to take probably a bit of legal on this, because no, that's the
Excuse me, no, can you just stop the stream? Mr. McNeil, I'll get back to you, but I can't have you interrupting this.
And submissions are now open. Submissions will be open until July the 22nd. Anyone can make a submission. Google the Water Services Entities Bill and make a submission on the Parliament website. Or go to stop3waters.nz. You can make a submission through our website. And the reason I think that we will win this is because 100,000 New Zealanders have signed our petition to stop Three Waters. That is an army of ratepayers, an army of taxpayers who are ready to give these MPs hell. No, I cannot, I'm afraid, but I can probably speak a little bit louder.
There you go, brother. Puff the chest out.
And we've got a really simple message for the MPs who are hearing these submissions. It's not enough for them to barricade themselves into their dusty offices in Wellington. Yeah. They need to do what we're doing. They need to hit the road. They need to hear the concerns of ratepayers in Whangarei, and Mangawhai, and Kerikeri, and Taupo, and Rotorua, and Wellington, and Oamaru, and Timaru, and Invercargill, and so on. Do you think that co-governance will result in lower taxes or higher taxes? Higher. Exactly. Now, we've been lucky across the country to be joined by councillors in some councils in some parts of New Zealand who have been brave enough to stand up and say no to Three Waters. Some of them have even led legal action against the government. We've had some mayors, the Mayor of Timaru, a fantastic strong voice. We were hoping that the Mayor here in Whangarei would show up today. If she's here, if anyone could point her out to me. I do see one local councillor here, Vince. Would you like to say a few words?
She's hiding in Emily Henderson.
I actually heard that he's running for Mayor, so he'd be stupid not to. I think this is going to be impromptu, so good on him. Cheers.
There you, Louis. Well, Whangarei! What a good turnout! Yeah! Look, I think Louis said most of the stuff here, but look, we are one people, are we not?
Yes!
Do we all believe in democracy?
Yes!
then why the hell are we letting this government do this?
We're not.
Stand up, make your voice heard, put it as a petition. I believe Hamilton are doing a petition themselves, are they not?
Communities for Local Democracy.
Communities for Local Democracy are definitely doing action about it. But look, you as an individual can actually make your voice heard too. Please do it. If you want the control of the water to stay here with you, make sure your voice is heard. It is vitally important that every one of you has a submission. And when the 8th of October comes, make sure your voice is also heard at the local elections. This is not an election speech, but make sure your voice is heard. Because you never know who may get in power, who may turn around and say, oh, we'll accept whatever the government gives us. So choose your candidates and make your voice heard. That's all I can really say. But well done, Whangarei, for being here. Good on you.
Now, do we have any other local councillors here in the audience? I just want to be clear before we move on to our next speaker. No, we don't. Do we have any MPs in the audience? Very good. We've got Mark Cameron here from the ACT Party, and we've got Shane Reddy, if you could both come up. Now, Mark's right here beside me, so I'm going to give him first go. Not playing favourites, Shane.
Sorry, Shane. Sorry. Whangarei, great turnout. Absolutely fantastic turnout. I won't pontificate. I am a sitting Member of Parliament. I'm a list MP based up in here in Northland. Now, as a Member of Parliament, we in the ACT Party will absolutely be voting against this piece of legislation.
Thank you, Mark, and I'm really glad to see the member for Whangarei here, Shane Reddy.
Look, thank you very much. Can I first of all thank the organisers for including us on their national tour. I know my colleagues up and down the country have been very grateful to receive you, and we're grateful to receive you here as well. Our position on this is very clear. I've had it on my billboard in Vine Street for the past month. We will repeal, if we're privileged to be government next year, we will repeal Three Waters. It is disproportionate to what happened in Hastings. It is fundamentally a Crown asset grab. We'll have no part of that. These assets need to be owned, not just owned, but operated by the local people. You're being told you've got shares in it. You may well own it, but if you don't operate it and don't have decision making, it doesn't matter. So these assets need to be owned and operated from where the sources first come, which was local ratepayers. It needs to be managed by them. So if we're privileged to join maybe with our ACT colleagues next year, very clear on behalf of our leader, we will repeal Three Waters. We'll have no part of this rubbish. Thank you.
With respect, can I put a question to
A brief question, not a statement.
A question. I was at a National Party meeting at Waipu recently, and there was a subject discussed about the refinery. There was a commitment made by Mr. Luxton that Shane will be looking into it. I was just wondering whether how much traction you've got into that, please.
First, I just want to say it is a Stop Three Waters meeting, and Shane has told us that he doesn't want it to be hijacked with other issues, which I appreciate. But
Well, we've heard the promises. Now let's ask the how. We are in a lot of, well, we're not in a lot of debt, but the corporate state that they're going to represent is in a hell of a lot of debt. Let's see how they're going to pay back that debt without implementing this. So you've been around, awesome. So you've been around the entire country.
Yeah, me and my boss Jordan have been taking it in turns. So I'm on the Northern League, which is the last league. I also did the Deep South and then up to Nelson.
Awesome. So on the Stop Three Waters campaign, we see that that, you know, I'm glad that the Taxpayers Union is behind this. I guess that you're against taxation without representation.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, someone once said that the best definition of democracy is that you can vote the bastards out.
Yep.
Even if they are delivering you bad value, at least there is a mechanism that you can get rid of them.
Yep.
Under Three Waters, that would just no longer be true. Here in Whangarei, for example, they'd have one representative out of a group of 14, and half of those wouldn't even be elected, they'd be iwi appointees. So it's a slap in the face to democracy, and it won't deliver good value to ratepayers.
Yep. How would you define taxation without representation?
Well, the people who are in charge of not just taking your money but also spending it need to be answerable to you.
Right.
Now, if it's a private business, you might be able to get accountability by threatening to switch to a competitor. In a democracy, you don't have that option, you've got a different option, and that's that you can vote the bastards out or at least threaten to do that. That's what taxation with representation is about.
Right, so I'll preface what I understand it as. I think it's roughly the same. It's your taxation represents the services that you get in return.
Well, sure. The services that you're provided with should be a reflection of your expectations and your values as a ratepayer or a taxpayer. Now, when the people making those decisions are no longer elected, they're going to start using that money in ways that don't reflect your expectations or even your values, for that matter.
And I would agree that this government has been engaging in taxation and taking on huge debts that the individuals who consent to this governance would have to pay back. Does that debt disappear if we change government?
No, the debt does not disappear, sadly. That is something that we do have to repay, and it's going to be repaid over generations. Yep. And the type of spending we've seen under this government, and Three Waters has been a part of it, they've been attempting to bribe councils with millions and millions of dollars. Now, that money doesn't just disappear. That is debt. It will be repaid by future generations. That means higher taxes.
Yeah. So how do you, I mean, I've noticed that this whole campaign around the country, I agree with it completely. They're essentially stealing water infrastructure that the ratepayers have paid for years. I mean, we're sort of a part of the digging at Marsden. We've seen infrastructure that our forebears have paid for just disappearing, and we're seeing fuel prices go through the roof. It's all interconnected. Do you believe that, and I've noticed that ACT and National have been a big part of these presentations, may not have any sort of affiliations, but how do you see National and ACT finding a way to overcome the mountain of debt that the government has put itself under?
Well, National and ACT are in a tough position, because if they really want to tackle the debt and reverse things like Three Waters, that's going to involve some pretty radical changes, pretty radical reversals. For example, when hundreds of people have high-paying new jobs under this new taxpayer-funded system, there's a question, will National and ACT have the guts to cut off that funding, to cut those people out of their jobs? Well, that's one of the reasons we're doing this roadshow and inviting these MPs along. It's not because we think a change in government will fix every problem, but if we can get these guys on the record over and over again, on video, in writing, once they're in government, if there is a change of government, we can remind them every day of the promises that they made to taxpayers and force them to keep it.
Love that. That was a great answer. Final question, brother, and I'll let you get to talking to people. Do you think that we should be responsible for the incompetent moves and fraud that this government has engaged in for the last 6 years? 5 years.
Like it or not, taxpayers always bear the brunt of government incompetence. Taxpayers are always the victim. And usually the quid pro quo is that we can at least vote the bastards out. But increasingly under this government, you see, typically through co-governance agendas, not just in Three Waters, but also under resource management rules, and also the health system that they're currently reforming, they're removing step by step that democratic accountability. And when you remove that democratic accountability, you give bureaucrats and unelected appointees the reins or the whip to really deal pain to taxpayers without consequence.
Right. It seems like we have to imbue ourselves with a lot of accountability and have an ability to pay attention to what our representatives do in government so we can get them out quickly before we have to pay for it.
Absolutely. Democracy should be a bright line. So we shouldn't allow any government entity to steadily cross or shuffle stealthily across that bright line. As soon as they put even a toe across that bright line of eroding democracy, that's when we need to stand up immediately and say, no, no, we will not let you head in that direction. Democracy is sacrosanct.
Would you agree with a more stronger constitution that confines these potential ideologues and politicians to our will?
At the Taxpayers Union, we often daydream about what an amazing constitution might look like. The problem is with any constitutional processes, you fundamentally got to entrust the people currently in charge with writing it. So there's pros and cons. I think it's possible to have an amazing constitution that could protect rights, that could protect taxpayers.
But we'd have to do it.
Well, I wouldn't trust the current lot to do it, let's put it that way.
No, I mean, we the people would have to do it, not the politicians.
Well, someone would have to write it. Whether it's someone elected or unelected, I'd probably go for someone elected, but at the same time, I don't trust the current lot.
Yeah. Love it. I look forward to seeing more of your voice, mate.
Cheers. Thanks.
Great
Good to chat.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Was it Brad?
Brad.
Yeah, great. Good to meet you.
Yeah, good to meet you. One of the problems is that if you change the government from red to blue, you still have that same debt that the incompetent idiots beforehand took on. And so if you don't have any constraints to prevent that, you're going to be saddled to the poor decisions that other individuals make in government. And so if you haven't created your governance structure for you and the land to protect you from this sort of incompetence, then you and your children and your grandchildren are going to be paying out of the eyeballs until you're slaves. And if it's gotten to the point where we don't have taxation with representation, you're going to have to do your own reset rather than allowing the elite to do their reset. Because a reset by the elite means more slavery for you. A reset by we the people means less slavery for you. How you going, brother? Good to see you.
It's been a while.
Yeah, mate.
You remember me, eh?
Yes, I do.
Good.
Absolutely. Yeah. Wellington. We never forget our brothers in arms. Have you signed the representative action petition? Yeah. Fuel prices must be stinging more than water prices right now.
They are.
We're both against theft. We can all agree that we're against theft, especially of things we paid for.
I'm against every wrongdoing that's happening under this government.
Yep.
You know, I don't like the way this country's going, and I want to do something about it.
Yeah.
So here I am.
Yeah. I think you and me would agree on a new constitution that constrains the ideologues from doing disastrous things like these ones have done over the last few years.
Yeah.
We would. Yeah. The problem with this government is that it's its own little corporate club, and whatever mistakes they make, they don't care about because they don't have to wear the responsibility we do. And that's when you have taxation without representation. And usually
it's been going on for too bloody long, eh? I've been a member with these guys for quite a while.
Yeah, I just had a conversation. Brilliant answers.
Good people,
Usually when I interview a politician, they get a little bit agitated because, wait a minute, you're not accredited media. You haven't forwarded these questions to me prior. I haven't got anything ready. But every question I asked him, he wasn't ready for, and boom, he had an answer because he does his research.
Was that the national one or the
No,
one?
that was the taxpayer union guy.
Oh, yeah.
I'm tired of asking them questions.
Oh,
I can see it in their eyes. They're terrified of me.
I've been trying to catch Seymour when he was in Tauranga, but
he runs fast, eh? He's like a quick little weasel.
He is.
Away. He's like a stoat.
Now, when we arrive at an area, we like to bug it with our small cameras so that we can delve into the private lives of the wildlife that lives there in a completely non-obtrusive way. And when we're working in the autumn and winter, we have to use cameras that can see in the dark, and we typically use infrared cameras. We've got plenty of those here. But this year, at Wild Kent Hill, we're also using a thermal camera, a camera that picks up on the heat signature of the animal. So it's totally dark, the animals never know we're looking at them, but we can see their little white bodies glowing in the darkness. If you were watching last night, you know that we were focusing our attention down on the marsh. There was a tremendous amount of activity, lots of wildfowl and waders down there, and as the programme was coming to an end, we spotted a fox trotting around on the marsh. Well, as soon as the programme continued, we thought we'd try and keep our eyes on that fox to see what happened, and this is what we saw. The fox is quartering the marsh, perhaps opportunistically hoping to find a sick or injured widgeon, or teal, or lapwing. Eventually, it moves to one side and it disappeared out of sight behind a hedge. But luckily, our astute cameraman, Joe Charlesworth, spotted the white dot and zoomed in just as the fox was making a kill. We saw it pounce. And then, partially hidden behind the vegetation, the question was, what was the prey? Well, look at that. The long, slim body of the stoat. a stoat. And only the night before we've been watching stoats or a stoat go backwards and forwards across that marsh itself looking for prey. But here, the predator had become prey. Well, it all happened very quickly. So let's have another look. The cameraman finds the fox, and I think, when you watch this, this is its first pounce. Look, we catch it mid-air. Its brush held up. It overshoots the stoat. You can see that there on the right, still on the ground. Returns to it. The stoat is then in the fox's mouth, and it's shaking it, as you would expect. But then it breaks free again. And you can just see it moving in the foreground. The fox focused intently on its prey, makes another lunge. The stoat moves away to the right. You expect it to flee, but it turns, confronting the fox, and runs into the jaws of its death. And the fox then seizes the stoat, and their thermal images become one.
Yeah. I need to bring my dog along. My dog will catch him.
Oh, man.
I watched a little video of Napoleon sort of just catching him as he was getting in the car.
Yeah?
Yeah, but he got away again.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Didn't want to talk?
We went to a meeting, didn't we? And we asked him a few questions, and he ran away from us too.
Really?
Yeah.
You got Seymour?
We did. Someone got it all on film, but we're still waiting for all the footage.
Oh, cool,
it's hilarious.
cool,
we asked him, the last question we asked him, he goes, last question. I gave the question to the girl.
Yeah. Was that Brooke?
Ruth.
Oh, Ruth.
And Ruth asked him, is ACT going to help centralise medical information so they can pay back Pfizer? And he was like, his eyes went wide because Brooke Van Velden had been promoting that several months ago. And he goes, no. And I was like, are you sure? Because Brooke Van Velden promotes that all the time. Oh my God.
You know what's funny about her? On their website, where it has like all the ACT MPs, it states under her biography that she strongly believes in body autonomy.
And
yeah.
Centralisation of your medical information.
Yeah. It doesn't make sense, does it?
No, it doesn't fit.
It's like a big contradiction, really.
It's like two dicks.
Yeah.
We won't cut that. All right, brother. It's good to see you.
Good to see you too,
right.
man.
Yep. We'll see each other at Wellington next time.
Yes. Nice to see you.
How you been, Shane? I'm good. I'm good. So have you had a chance to have a look at the books for the government? Financial books.
Oh, no one knows what they're looking like. They're a mess. Even the Auditor General said, particularly around COVID, there's so many buckets, he was struggling to add them up. Well, if the Auditor General's struggling to add them up, how the heck are we all supposed to know what the books are looking like?
Jeez, you might be walking into a disaster, mate.
Look, my sense is we probably will. It tends to be the nature of things. It tends to be that cycle. We have some governments that spend, tax and spend, and we often find when we come in, we need a whole term just actually to get the economy back before you can start building roads and hospitals and other stuff. Yeah. So, we'll confront that if we're privileged next year. Yeah. We'll confront that, but from this distance, it looks troubling.
So how's the government going to pay all the debt back if it doesn't steal water infrastructure? If you come in, you find out the books are just a disaster.
Look, we'll need to trade our way. We're really good at trading our way out of positions. I know under John and Bill and Stephen, we opened up, we had 12, 13 airlines come in, and tourism picked up, and hospitality, and so we'll need to trade our way fundamentally. We're a trading nation. We'll need to trade our way out of the crisis we find ourselves in. I think that's mostly where we're going to need to be, Brad.
Have we ever borrowed this much in the history of...
Our finance person is saying no, nor can she recall when we've had a budget that was this profligate in our last budget. So our finance person is saying that our debt levels are looking troubling.
Well, this country does have a pretty good reputation in terms of quality. I think we just need to make more Kiwi-made things, don't you think?
We need to increase our productivity. We need to be more productive in what we do. We don't compare well, like with our Australian cousins, for example. We need to increase our productivity. But again, we're a trading nation. If we don't trade, we die. And when we were the Hobbit Kingdom, not the Hobbit Kingdom, the Hermit Kingdom, when the doors were shut, and, no one was coming in, no one was welcome. Oh, they didn't go so well for us. We have $5 billion of international students. No, we don't. They've either gone to Melbourne, they've gone to Canada. We shut the door. Canada kept their doors open, for goodness sake. How can that be? That's a lot of money. Exchange students, foreign students, they permeate all through the community. They need homestays, all that sort of stuff. And that whole sector hasn't been open to us, and there's going to be a long tail for that, let alone hospitality. These folks here and accommodation. Yep. There's a lot of hurt that's going to take a while to try and fix, actually. But we need to trade our way out. That's our view. Yeah,
those health measures that don't address the hazard have been quite costly for us, hasn't it?
Oh, look, if you stop looking, you don't find. Seriously. If you don't look at waiting times, surprisingly, you don't know when they're so bad. How can that be? How can that be rational or sensible in any way whatsoever? There's a lot of issues in the health space, although it's always a shout out from me to those who are there, and they'll never see me anything other than supportive of them, because they're working as hard as they can. They get up every day, short of staff, know they're going to be doing 2 or 3 shifts that they shouldn't be doing, and they darn well roll their sleeves up at the coalface. So big shout out to them. This is not a you problem, it's a leadership problem, it's a funding problem, it's a central government problem, actually.
We've been hearing reports of staff shortages in our health industry all around. Would you agree with that sentiment?
Just unbelievable. I'm afraid for Andrew Little to say the health system's coping is just laughable. I'm afraid it's not coping. And, a lot of things come back to health workforce. So you can have the best policies in the world, but if you don't have people to actually deliver them, it doesn't matter. It's not going to work. So we know we're 4,000 nurses short. Explain to me why they don't get day one residency, but a multimedia DJ can. Got to explain that to me. I don't get that. No, seriously, how can that be sensible? We're 1,500 GPs short. Can you explain to me why there was no new medical school places in the budget 3 weeks ago? How does that work? We've got to grow our own homegrown, culturally competent, GPs. We're 1,500 specialists short. Our health workforce is in dire straits, and 2 weeks ago Australia said they're going to build a $4.5 billion health army. Where do you think they're looking? Offering $30,000 more and relocation costs. Where do you think they're going to look?
Our health industry needs people that understand our people. Do you think we should bring back all the people who were mandated out of their jobs?
I opposed, on behalf of our party, the public health order on Tuesday and voted it down, and made the case very clearly that we need to see a pathway to mandates ending and what the terms and conditions will be. So on behalf of the National Party, I voted that down. Labor had the majority, they voted it up, so it stays for another 6 months. That's what happened, actually. But as a caucus, we voted it down.
Well, I agree with you. I don't think anybody should be forced to date men. Some people prefer women. I know I prefer women. You prefer women, don't you?
It's an image I don't want, actually. Thank you, Brad. Thank you for sharing that personal moment with me. But
I mean, if a mandate were to be propositioned to me, I think they would have to dress up and offer to pay for dinner.
Boy, I'm so offering a no comment to that. That's just risky and dangerous for me, Brad. You know that. Good to see you.
Take care, mate.
Okay, you too. Catch you again.
The issue with the refinery, there was a few questions were asked in the meeting you had in Whangarei, and Mr. Luxon sort of left the baby in your lap up to a point, so what has sort of happened since then?
So what's happened since then is I've been having discussions with our editor spokesperson, MP Stuart Smith, and making sure he's up to date. And what Stuart's telling me is kind of interesting. Amongst other things, he's telling me that refining capacity across the world is actually falling, and not at all what we were being told.
Up to the point of when the refinery they shut down for their 4-yearly maintenance, they were only charging about a third of what other refineries were charging for refining crude oil. So if that is the case, they've purposely sabotaged our refinery to make the books look bad if that's the case. This is of a reputable source.
So what I heard was that the first ship wasn't redone, it didn't have enough stabilisers.
Yeah, well, it was all what it was jet fuel, and it was full of shit. There was we've got all of the tracking evidence of that particular ship, and it was all sat in one of the tanks on the farm to wait for the cracks to set up, so they could put it down the pipe.
I heard it didn't have enough stabilisers.
Well, if it didn't have enough stabiliser, they couldn't modify it anyway because the refinery was shut down. So it's a lie. The responsibility at the end of the day is maintaining an economical fuel supply to the economy of this country. Yeah, and if this has been if this is the case with them not charging the full rate for processing crude oil, there should be criminal charges should be coming forth to this corporation, because the people that funded this facility has been us, the taxpayer, because every time there's been a big upgrade, they've always put their hand out to the government.
It wasn't quite true with Te Mahi Hole. That came from profits. So the last big upgrade, I think was 100 million, as I recall.
The CCR.
I just noticed Te Mahi Hole. I don't know what the project was. Yeah, it was big. It was upgrading the
Excuse my interruption.
I will keep moving you. Anyway, I'm on your side. So you're talking to the choir here. You know
if you can do a little bit of digging on their financial side.
Well, if you can email me so I make sure I completely understand the question, then I'll bring whatever.